do you cherish most?
Time.
Time. Why time?
Because something you can't get back.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. So how do you cherish your time?
I'm mindful of how I spend it. And that's something I have to work myself into because I feel that we take it for granted, right? We always think, oh, we have a tomorrow, another minute, another hour, or however you want to perceive it. And we really don't. If 2020 has taught us anything, is that time is definitely a thing.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Take a Space podcast. I'm your host, Leah, and joined today my long awaited guest. I met you maybe, 2 months ago?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
about a
about two
month.
months ago. And since then, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I get to get her on the show. This is Noemi of Coffee with Curls podcast. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate you for inviting me.
Oh, girl, it's been great. Not only seeing your Instagram, hearing your story, and hearing you talk on your show about how important mental health is, because
Mhm.
for our community, it feels like that's shh.
It is.
We don't talk. We don't talk. That's just your aunt who she's going through some things, or your uncle just doesn't talk because he just doesn't talk. We leave him alone. We don't bother that. Why do you think now we're seeing such a push in our communities from the younger generation for mental health?
I think that now is less judgy.
Okay.
I believe so. I think that people are being brave enough to say we have to break a cycle. The silence is really harming us, right? More than it is us facing whatever it is.
Yeah.
And just putting stuff away doesn't really solve anything. It's still we actually passing that pain on in generations, right? So I really admire that the younger generation is like, oh no, we're not doing this anymore. We're gonna have to deal with whatever it is. And I think
Right.
because they're setting that up, a lot of us are going in like, you know what, we got to heal our trauma too.
Yeah, I think that, and it's interesting because when I do talk to people who are of the boomer generation, or any, like, at least people who are maybe 10, 15 years older than me, they always say how therapy is just for y'all's generation. That's a young person thing, or therapy doesn't do anything, or I have Jesus, I don't really need anybody else. And it's
Mm.
just like, and my response when people say, well, I have Jesus, I'm like, but you go to church, you
Yes.
have a pastor, right?
Mm,
If
yeah.
solely all you needed in life was just Jesus, you
Mm,
wouldn't need the church, you wouldn't need your pastor, you would need a mentor or elders in the church to assist or guide you.
mm.
And it was Ron who gave the, oh, I love Ron. He gave the best um metaphor analogy. I don't know which one it is. I always get those two mixed up. But he said, when people say that they don't need therapy, he says, well, your mother teaches you how to brush your teeth.
Mm.
And that's all well and good, but you still go to the dentist because the dentist
Perfect.
knows what to look for. They
Yes.
know if a cavity is growing. They know
Mm.
if your teeth are going to be impacted. They,
Mm.
your mother can also teach you, to wash your body and to give you medicine when you're sick. But when you get real sick, you go to the doctor.
Yes.
So if
I
you're
love
working that
that.
hard in the gym and you're working that hard,
Mhm.
on what you eat, your mental needs help too.
Agreed. It's all of it. I wish I told this to someone yesterday. I wish that therapy was in school, like
Yes.
growing up, right? Like
Yes.
finances should be part of that, mental health, and also have it at the jobs,
Yeah. And
right?
that's
Like
why I
30
think
minute
it's a
lunch.
part of a lot of EAPs now, which I'm like, ooh,
Mhm.
thank you.
Yes. Do you ever watch that show called Billions?
No.
And what I liked about it was in the show, he has an in-house therapist for his employees.
See, man,
That would be
we
so
can
dope.
we just have to normalize it, because I think
Mhm.
that, and it wasn't until I heard it when I was younger, but I thought about it again after I watched this movie called Bad Hair, the satirical horror movie where Blair Underwood's character was talking about how you strip away the person from their culture, from their language, their name, their community, and tell them that everything that they practice is witchcraft, or
Mm.
just all bad and just a hoax and all this kind of stuff. So when you have natural remedies, it seems like faulty medicine, or it's not real medicine, right? It's not to be taken
Yeah.
seriously. So when we have chiropractors, or you have acupuncturists, or you have therapists who
Yeah.
are not just there to just give you a pill to make you feel better, but actually want to help you in working out whatever the issues are, then they're
Hmm.
just like, oh, then you're just a weak person. You have to go to therapy. You can't just
Yeah.
rub dirt on it and walk away.
Mm-mm. No, you can't. And I think that therapy is also connected to whiteness. And
Yes.
so that's another layer of all of this.
Okay.
Growing up, like for me, I'm from Brooklyn, New York.
Hmm.
So I grew up, my mom came from another country. So I grew up from being family of immigrants. So the shame of even saying something is even wrong with you mentally, it's like under the rug. Under the rug. We don't talk about this. We don't talk about this. That doesn't happen to us. You don't put that out there. You don't put your business out there.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, your emotional state is jacked up. Your mental state is jacked up.
Absolutely.
Everything. And you're like, as I got even in my own therapy and healing, I'm like, okay, we got to take this shame. Because when you take the shame off, it's like, okay, why are we hiding? Show
Yeah.
your layers of who you are, right? Be
Yeah.
brave enough. But I understand that I am actually healing generations of cycles.
Hmm.
And when you become that person too, it's heavy. It really is heavy because it's going to be parts of your family that they will never seek help.
That's absolutely true. And I think that looking at it from the broader perspective of generationally,
Mhm.
my grandmother went through this, her mother went through this, her mother went through this. And
Mhm.
there were so many times it's like, well, therapy wasn't a thing that was offered, or even whether it was within reach, or something that we just don't do, something kind of like how you reach your hand out and then the elders in the community smack your hand down and just tell you you need to suck it up, or you need to do these things. And it's
Mhm.
like, but I'm hurting. Well, I don't see any blood. Well, no, but I'm
Right.
hurting on the inside. How do you
Mhm.
fix that? Oh, just go take a nap. You'll be fine.
No. So let me ask you this. When did you start seeking? What was the thing for you to say, "Hey, I have to heal this"?
Um, I I started going to therapy a little bit after I realized how bad I was dealing with my abandonment issues, because I grew up in a
Mm.
large family.
Okay.
And so I have 9 siblings, and both my parents are still married, still back in Cali. And my siblings are spread out all over the place. And when I realized how bad my anxiety got so bad, as
Mhm.
something is going to happen, I'm going to need to get out, and I'm not going to be able to get out. I can't get to anybody to tell them that I need help, or there's nobody here. And if nobody's here, how do I protect myself? My anxiety was sky high, and I just couldn't.
Mhm.
It became like debilitating, where I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to interact with people. So I knew I needed help. And that's when I realized that I had these um terrible coping mechanisms of
Mhm.
that when I of like trying to deal with abandonment, of keeping people in my life who shouldn't be there, tolerating things that I shouldn't, forcing different situations just so that I can either be all by myself or surrounded by all the wrong people. And
Mm.
so when I realized that I was self sabotaging in those ways, I was like, I need to go to therapy. I have to. Like, there's no, I'm no good to anybody, and I'm no good to myself. And so since going to therapy, and I've been going to therapy, I try to go for at least six times a year.
Mm.
And I wanted to do like once every 2 weeks, but I know that I'm not as consistent, because I unpack a lot when I go to my therapist, because she's very
Mm.
much a tell it like it is kind of woman. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, I met my match when I met her. And so I'm just like, every time we meet, and the good thing about it is they don't tell you what to do. right? The
Mm-hmm.
therapist, that if you have a good therapist, your therapist is not there to tell you what to do. It's
Mm-hmm.
more so about offering perspective and helping you to unpack a lot of the things. Like they're willing to walk through those doors with you, and so that you're not by yourself going through those things, and
Mm-hmm.
to really like help you process those things. And I think that, just getting those tools and using them, because I don't think I need a lifetime of therapy, but actually, like, especially all the stuff last year.
Oh,
If
just
you didn't
last
go
year
to
alone.
therapy last year, oh,
Just last year, but I'll tell you this: good for you
whew,
for understanding that you needed that, and went and got that help.
yeah,
Good for you, because the same way we go to the gym, the same way we talking about eating healthy, our minds need to be healthy as well. But good for
absolutely,
you,
absolutely.
absolutely. But listen, just last year, 2020, all of us, we could do group therapy
Listen,
together as a
yes,
world.
oh, I
Can we
and to
talk about
have,
this?
listen, Noemi, to have people, I don't know what it is about having people. It was kind of weird for me to have somebody who I'm just like, to have people in my community where I'm just like, I need to go see my therapist, and they're like, yes, go see your therapist.
Mhm.
You really need to get that out, and they're like supporting it.
Yes.
It makes a huge, and we get to talk about, well, when I was in therapy, I learned this, or these are some of the tools I learned, or this is. I was like, can we normalize this kind of conversation?
Let's normalize it. Absolutely. I want
Oh
all the people that
yes,
I love to go to therapy. I want everybody. I posted something the other day that says, I want you to go. You know how people are like, I'm just the way I am? I
yeah,
want you to go to therapy because you can
yes.
still evolve. Just the way I am is
Oh,
an acceptance, an excuse not to heal.
you know what? When I was in my 20s, I used to say that a lot.
Mm,
Like, this is just who I am. You're gonna have to accept it or move on. And like now that I think about that, I'm just like, I feel bad for people who make it this far in life and think that they've just stopped growing.
mm,
If this is just who you are, you're
yeah,
choosing not to grow anymore. You're choosing not to evolve anymore. And that's tough.
it
At
is.
28, you're done.
You got
At
so
23, you're
much.
done. At 34, you're done.
Yeah,
At
no.
86, you're done. No, you're still
No.
growing. There's still things that you're learning, still people who you're meeting, and things that you're doing. Absolutely not. I think that's such a cop out.
Mhm. It is a cop out. Every day is a chance to learn something, right? I always say I'm a student of life
Yes.
because I teachable. I want to learn. I don't know everything. I don't. And I'm
And people are
40.
afraid to say that.
Yes, I'm 40 years old. I don't know everything. And I have so much more to learn of life. And if I think I have it together, no, I really don't.
It's
I
like,
don't.
oh, you think you have it together? Let me set this one thing on fire here. Let me go ahead and take this
I
one thing out.
don't. It's so funny because sometimes people are like, "Oh, you're so positive." I'm like, "You have no idea how long it took to get
Oh,
here." And it's a choice. It's a
yes.
choice. It's a
How,
choice.
how do you accept compliments? Like if you have worked really hard to produce a certain posture or image to present to the world,
Mm.
and people recognize you as being that whatever it is, how does that make you feel?
What's weird for me is that sometimes people want to mold you, and because you're seen as one thing, then they don't give you the space to make a mistake. And because I'm
Yes.
human, I don't want to be here. I
Hmm.
don't want to be this thing of like perfection because I'm not in the sense
Yes.
of my healing
Hmm.
because I still fuck up all the time. Oh, can I curse?
Absolutely.
I'm always cursing. I said
We
it.
say no. We say no. It's okay. I can bleep it out. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I do. I mess up all the time.
Yeah.
So I don't want to. I'm very mindful of that because that's really other people's perspective, and I don't want to not mirror that, but take that on because
Hmm.
tomorrow I may not be the best person. It happens. I'm like this evolving person all day. I'm always striving to be better than I was yesterday,
Hmm.
but there's times I'm going to revert back because that's just the humanity in me.
Yeah, that regression, it feels like what and I want to get your perspective on this, because when I tend to regress, it's at first it feels comfortable because it's familiar,
Mm-hmm.
but then almost immediately it's uncomfortable because I've outgrown this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of start questioning, like, okay, why am I back here?
Yes.
How do you feel when you get there, and how do you process to progress out of that?
At first, I used to be really hard on myself because I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my God, I made all this strive to be, to do better. But because your habits of that you've done your life, however long you ever learned this behavior,
Mm-hmm.
it's giving yourself grace to be like, you know what? You're mindful that you did it. Just if that happens, just be mindful. Just don't hold on to it so it doesn't mess up your progression.
Mm-hmm.
You know, give yourself the grace.
Yeah. I think that we give other people so much more grace than we give ourselves.
Yes, I agree with that all the time. We're so forgiving with other people. We speak life into other people. We do all this stuff, and we don't mirror that back to ourselves. And we deserve that kindness that we give other people to
Yes.
ourselves.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it's looked at badly. Like if you talk yourself up, it's not because you're giving yourself whatever you need to grow. Doesn't mean that I'm looking down on other people. It's that I need that too,
Yeah. And
right?
I don't know how, and we've talked about how 2020 has affected other people in so many ways, and how's it affected us, in this last, because 2020 I felt like lasts for like 700 years.
It's it.
But I felt like in 2020 I was in almost a, because, and I don't, were you isolated by yourself, or I don't know if you have family or not that you live with.
So, so I'm married, so it was my husband and I
Okay.
in the house, but I'm
So
used to
y'all really,
having,
really got to know each other.
yes, yes,
All
because
over again.
now we're working in the same space. I'm blessed to say that we're both working, right? Because unfortunately, a lot of people lost their jobs.
Absolutely, yes.
So I try to stay mindful of that, but at the same time, he works evenings. I was used to my like free time at night.
Oh,
And I'm an introvert, so I love my free time to do nothing, just
yes. Are you busy?
scroll on Instagram.
No, I'm not. I'm not. But oh, then you can do this. No, I'm busy doing nothing. Leave me alone.
Nothing, reading a book, just doing nothing. I mean, nothing special. It's just like alone. I love alone time.
See, I'm such the opposite. I'm an extrovert, and I love being
Yeah.
around people. When I'm not around people, I get finicky.
Do
I get,
you?
oh, like, so you know how you get when you're around people for too long and your social battery has run out?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I get when I'm by myself for too long. I'm just like,
Really?
I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. Are you busy? Okay, no. Okay. Are you busy? Okay, all right. Are you busy? No, you're available. Okay, can we go to the park? No, I just want to go to the park and do nothing. Okay, cool. All right, cool, cool, cool.
You see, I'll go out to eat by myself. I'll go to the movies by myself. Like it's just this thing about having time. And
Mhm.
even though I don't mind sharing time with him, but it was just like that time to do like really nothing. I paint, like nothing crazy, It's just like I like my alone time. So it's been very interesting how we're doing well, but it has been stressful because I felt, even though I'm introverted, I like being outside. I miss brunch, like I miss my brunches. There's a few places I like to go to, and dress up. I love dressing up, and this is just has been crazy. It
Oh,
really has been.
so in that, so since you weren't able to really, I mean, it sounds like you kind of had more time with him than
Hmm.
you were like used to in the before 2020.
Yes.
But what I have found, because I spent most of 2020 alone, like it's just me and my
Mm.
dog, just alone.
Oh.
And every couple of weeks, because it felt more and more like, the more time went on, I felt like I was in more of like a deprivation chamber,
Mm.
where you don't have anything but your internal voice.
Mm.
There's no outside, because you can I didn't have to like look at Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or be in everybody's business or social media, things like that. I just had my inner voice and what my inner voice sounds like and what are some of the words that is reverberating off these walls in my mind, right? And during that time, I felt it was like a almost like a reverse paycheck. Every 2 weeks there would be something new about me that comes up. Oh, that's why I do that. Oh, that's where that pain comes
Mm.
from. That's where this is oh, that's why. And so it felt like every 2 weeks, almost like monster of the week of what I was dealing with. If it was past trauma, if it was something that I never really quite recovered from, or something that was
Mm.
a part of a larger issue that I had to learn to tackle, or things. And I'm grateful with for the, like we talked about, the conversations with other people who do go to therapy, and we talk about the different tools, even though our status in life may not be the same,
Mm-hmm.
we may not be going through the same things, but the themes seem to be recurring, right? So having other people who do go to therapy and talking to them about the tools that they use have absolutely helped me in, dealing with those things. Like I held on to anger for one
Oh,
particular person, and I didn't even know it. I didn't even know I
wow.
had anger toward this person, and it was just like, and honestly, when I actually sat there and spoke those words of forgiveness and really just like gave it to God and said, okay, I'm not touching it, it's yours now, I felt so much lighter. I didn't even know I was holding
Oh.
in that. Like, oh my gosh.
It's so interesting that you brought anger. So I'm doing this 40-day Kundalini yoga meditation.
Okay.
So it's 40 days consecutively, 10 minutes. And the root of it is anger. You're dealing with suppressed anger. So
Mm,
it's specific breathing things you do and like chants and stuff like that. And I just never done anything like this. But these two women from Brooklyn, Afro Latinas that I follow, and
okay.
and I love that they're putting that in the culture because as people of color, there's stuff that we don't even know that's part of our own, just things that
Yes.
just haven't been used and tools. So as I'm gonna do this, and it has been very revealing because as you said, there's like suppressed angers for years and things that just not talked about.
Yeah, and you won't know it until you have to actually spend that time to, okay, let's pull this up, let's root this out,
Hmm.
figure out where it comes from. But that's so cool. If you wouldn't mind sending me their information so I can put it,
Yes.
at the bottom of this episode. I think that it's so great. I like, my heart just gets so happy knowing that people are not only going to therapy, but whether you're spiritual, whether you're Christian or Buddha Buddhist or
Just,
Muslim or whatever it is, wherever you find your faith, if you can find your peace and
hmm.
get to really know your identity, there's a centeredness, there is
Hmm.
a confidence, a peace that comes with that, where that just can't be shaken. And I think that therapy for a lot of people would be a step in that right direction. So where you're not having, it's not like a cult where you have people telling you what to think, how to feel, anything like
Hmm.
that, but that person, and I will say this, I have to put a disclaimer out there. Getting the right therapist is a lot like dating.
Oh my God, yes, it is.
The
Yes.
first couple may not be as good, but it is up to you to be your advocate and say that this isn't working and get another therapist. And honestly, when you find the right one, it's like finding the right bra. It is the best thing
It
ever.
is. That's like the
Oh,
best way of doing it. I tell people that
oh.
too. Like, I switched therapists 2020. I started with one girl and I ended up switching because I really felt like I wasn't getting what I needed.
Hmm.
And so I felt weird at first. I'm like, oh my God, it's almost like a breakup, right? Because you're not trying to offend anybody.
How long were you with this one before you got a new one?
Maybe just a couple of months,
Okay,
about
okay.
3 months, because I go every week. I do my
Okay.
therapy sessions weekly. And so I'm just like, I was like, this is just not feeling good. There's something about this is just not right for me.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I like the therapist, believe it or not. I like the therapist, but it was just something I felt like I wasn't getting. And then this new one, the new one that I love her too. And I'm like, okay, this is exactly what I needed. And you got to vet them just the
Mm.
way you get your nails done, the way you find a mechanic, the way you find your doctor. It's the
Absolutely.
same way
Yes.
you find your therapist. It's important that it fits your needs for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because you don't want to have a doctor who, and especially as women, especially as women of color, Black women,
Yeah.
we have we have very doctors we choose because a lot of times, like I was ignored for the longest until
Mm,
I was almost 30. Nope, I was 30. Was I almost 30? I think I was almost 30 when or in my early 30s when they told me that I finally found a doctor who actually cared enough to like not stop until he found out what was wrong. Till I found out that I
mm.
had, like, then he said, no, you have PCOS. And this should have been diagnosed back when you were 17. And I was just like,
That's another conversation to even talk about, like
oh,
women's.
what?
Yes.
What?
I, you
But no
know,
one would listen to me. I said I'm in pain. I said I need help, and they're just like, "Oh, you're just being dramatic." And it's just like, but just like you have to find the right doctor, the ones who are going to be your advocate, the ones who know how to help you, who are going to listen to you. You got to find the right therapist. You got to find the one
you
who's actually
do.
going to ask those probing questions. To get you to want to be uncomfortable for those 50 minutes so that
Yes.
you can get the tools you need to start working through that muck.
And it's work,
Yes.
and it's going to be work. I think that's why sometimes people are really scared because going to therapy is about owning your own stuff.
Yes.
That's what therapy is. It's about owning your own stuff. So make sure that you're honest
Yes.
because if you're not honest with your therapist, you're actually lying to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because how do you heal whatever's going on in your world that you need to whatever focus on if you're not being honest? But absolutely vet them. If you have to go through 10 of them, whatever it is, don't feel bad because sometimes
Yeah.
it takes time. It does. I need
Yeah.
somebody that can speak my language, that understands if I'm saying
Absolutely. Yes.
something off the
Oh my
chain,
goodness.
that they get it. So I
Yes,
understand
it's
for
like, I
sure.
didn't mean that towards you, but in that moment, that's what I was feeling, and they're not gonna be offended by it. They understand exactly
Yes.
what you're trying to convey, even knowing how to read between the lines and willing to
Hmm.
take feedback. I think that's one of the most important part of, like, my therapist is that while she's no nonsense, she's still comforting in that if I say, "Nah, you're off the mark," that's not really what it is. But she
Hmm.
knows how to ask the right questions to get to the root of things, and then also just give me the tools so that I can actually do the work. But you're absolutely right. If you're not willing to do the work, then going through 15, 30, 50 different therapists, it's not going to benefit if you're not going to do the work. You have to.
You have to, and like for
Fans of
me,
us.
I have a therapist that I get tarot readings done. So I share that stuff with
Oh,
her too.
okay.
Yeah.
I've never
Or
had a tarot reading
numerology. I do them ever so often.
done.
It's
Okay.
something that I grew up with, and it's good to have a therapist that understands that.
Okay.
And we
Is
can get
that
into the
like
conversation about that.
is that a different layer, or what is, I don't know, because I don't know a lot about tarot.
So tarot is kind of like your guides, your spirits, like your guardian angels, messages
Okay.
or things that is really onto your own interpretation. So it's nothing really black and white, but there's
Okay.
messages that are in there. So I know some people can take it depending on your religion as like witchcraft and stuff like that, which is not. But I'm very open. I grew up seeing that. I grew up my family going to tarot readers or um how do you say that in English? Like voodoo. There's a lot of stigma to that, but I grew up around all that stuff. It's like with
Okay.
everything, right? Religion
Yeah,
can be used good or bad too, but there's just
absolutely.
stigma with certain things because of the way it's shown on television. There's just too much sometimes that Hollywood does it damages. How we
Yeah.
were talking about like medicine. like I remember for me, I grew up with like having bronchitis and stuff like that, and my grandmother would make stuff in the kitchen, and that would cure me faster than what the doctor would give me.
Yeah, I
You
believe
know,
it.
so,
I believe it because
yeah.
because our illnesses are not new. They just the medicine
Hmm.
that they're pushing off to us is just different. Like I've had I can't even tell you how many for because I have asthma, and so they'll
Mm,
keep me on different steroids, different things, and inhalers, bronchodilators, all these other things, right? But there's so many natural things
mm,
that I've done that has helped me way better than all the
yeah.
pills and the inhalers and all that kind of stuff. Where if like going to like I go to acupuncture or and
Mm,
like when I do acupuncture, physical therapy, and chiropractic care, um,
okay.
and I keep up with that, and making sure that I, take care of like doing the different plants in the room and things like that. It really helps out with,
Mm,
my asthma and allergies where I don't even need my medicine. And I'm
that's
like a person who
awesome.
needs medicine every day, just to
Mm,
be able to, walk upstairs or whatever. But being able to not rely on just medication because I'm just like,
mm.
if the apocalypse happens, I don't want to die because I had an asthma attack. That would suck. So I need
You
to be able
know,
to
do
find
you
ways
watch
to take care of myself.
do you watch The Walking Dead?
That's all the time I think about that. I'm just like, Michelle is gonna have to come save me because
That's
Rick
my
is killing.
favorite.
Like, if Carol caught me coughing, I would be burnt up just like those other two. Just done. I'm done. Like there, I wouldn't make it. I wouldn't make it. So I have to find another way to actually like make it. So that it's
It's so funny you say that
like
because when like everything had went down like first like of Corona, I was just thinking about the whole show. I'm like, oh my God, are we gonna turn to zombies? I'm like,
like
in
this
my
is a
mind,
start.
this is it. This is it. I'm ready. I've watched The Walking Dead 20 times. I'm ready. I got a backpack. I'm full of snacks. That's not what happened.
I was like, okay, if I barricade myself, okay, like I'm looking at my dog, I'm like, okay, follow me, follow me. Okay, this is where we're going. And it's just like, oh man, I think in April, I was like, all right, everybody's being silly and panic buying toilet paper and paper towels. And it's like, okay, but you guys realize we're still at home with running water. So
I
I don't
know.
know what
White
we need
toilet
these things
paper.
for.
Yes.
I
But
don't
white
know.
toilet paper. I was just like, what is with the toilet paper? You can't eat it.
It's a panic buy. So I was like, okay, let me make sure I have food. Do I have food? Okay, we're good. Everybody got all the meats. That is fine. Okay, let me
It's
find other ways
fine.
to get the protein. Let's see. I got some peas here. Let me go ahead and make sure I have this. Okay, I'm good to go. I'm solid. Like I stocked up
Yes.
for about a good month. And then when I realized a lot of the stuff was panic buying, and I was like, that's okay. Y'all can be out there and be crazy because it was like Black Friday every day for
Every
like
day.
3 weeks. It
Yes.
was I was like, first somebody gotta go to work. First of all.
Somebody. You know
Hold
what I
on. The
got?
banks are still open.
I got astronaut food, right?
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say MREs like the military. I was like, I didn't go that
Too
far.
far. But I got canned foods, right? Like stuff
Yes,
that lasts.
yes.
Twinkies, because Twinkies don't have expiration date. I said, you know what?
I'm gonna need me a dessert if I make it through this. I'm gonna need dessert if I make it through this. Let me get
So
some
if I make it, the Twinkies don't expire for some weird reason. We have to be concerned about that.
Twinkies. Oh man.
But that's what I got. I was like, I didn't because they kept saying, oh, they're gonna be like a shortage of meat. I'm like, meat. I was like, listen, I can grow some stuff. I'm like, my grandparents were farmers. I'll figure it out.
You know how many? I mean, there were so many. I was like, I need somebody to bring me a bale of hay because I don't want to dig the ground. But if I have to dig the ground, I got to make sure that I planted this season, harvest in this season. Okay, I can have a harvest by the end of summer. It was the whole thing was ridiculous.
I was there. I had a backpack full of stuff in case. I had like 10 phone chargers on the side. I had battery. I went far. I did.
Listen, some you never know when it's gonna hit, okay? Because I kept my gas tank ready. It was
You did.
full. In
Mine was
case I had
full.
listen, in case I had to go, I could just drive for a good, a few hundred miles, be at the next state to be at my sister's place. Okay. All right, where we going? What we doing?
I had my paperwork like in a little box
Oh, the
to
fireproof
take it.
box?
Yes. I was ready.
Listen.
Listen, I had sweatpants,
Yes,
like all kind of female products
yes.
stocked up because I don't know. I mean, I was really thinking about The Walking Dead. I'm like, what is it that they need when you was in the Walking Dead scenario?
I was
I was
just
like,
like, okay, so I gotta make sure I have this and this and this. And I was talking to my sister, and she's like, "Well, are you gonna put a razor in there?" I said, "First of all, ain't nobody trying to be cute, okay? That's the least of my worries, okay? The very least of my worries at this point. Who am I trying
yeah,
to look cute for? I'm trying to live, okay?
try to live. Right. I didn't even think about any of that stuff. No razor. I just got, like I
Society,
said,
if society breaks down, it will rebuild. We can think about if we want razors or not. I don't have to have a razor right now. Okay.
yeah, we thought really far ahead. I was like, oh, I'm ready for all of this. Oh
Listen,
my God.
that is one show that has absolutely prepared me just in case. Because I was like, when stuff, and then when the whole insurrection happened, I was like, so we wanted to have a pandemic so that everybody could be home to watch this insurrection. Okay, so is this the start of The Walking Dead? Because I feel like we're about to have another civil war. What's going on?
What's going on? It's
I
just
just need to
crazy.
know what side of the country I need to be on because as
Too
for me in
much.
this house, listen, because
Yeah. I had all this planned out. I said, because my husband's from Tennessee. I was like, we got to stop by your parents because we're the only one. We live in Texas. So I said, we're here. I was like, we got to go to your parents, or your parents got to go to New York. I said, we got to figure all this out.
how okay on the road you only have maybe one destination,
I know.
so you can't go to Tennessee then to New York. You got to pick one.
Listen,
And
I
it's
try to
gonna
save my
take
mom.
you like 6 hours to get out of Texas,
I
depending on what
know.
Texas you're in. Like where I am right now in Texas, it takes about 8 hours to get out of Texas.
Wait, what part of Texas are you at?
Austin.
Oh, I'm in Houston.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm
I'm
in
just
Houston.
like I was actually in Houston a few weeks ago, but
Oh,
it was getting from Austin to any other state. It feels like 8 hours just to get. Texas is so big, so
it
I would
is.
use almost a full tank of gas just to get out of the state.
Oh,
And then all the other states are like really small. I don't think that I would have to, if I had to, I would barricade where I am.
you
And
would.
yeah, I,
Okay.
I would have to. Like there's no between here and any other state. Do you know how many times I would be shot at?
That's true. You're
Everybody
right.
is trapped in Texas. Okay.
They are. They
Like
are.
Texas
Listen,
does not play. They
they
do not
don't.
play. I don't think like people. If anybody needs therapists, it's Texas. Like Texas.
Texas needs their own therapist. The whole state.
Oh, like people just because talking to some of these people here, I'm just like, where, what? But there's so many people, so many transplants that are here now.
There
That
is.
it just that Texas is not really made of Texans anymore. It's just like
Mm,
all these transplants from, like you said, like New York, California. Like I
yeah,
lived here. I was here for about 3 years in the Austin area. Now Silicon Valley is coming out to
I
Austin.
heard.
Yeah.
So where you from? Are you from Texas?
No, originally I'm from California. I'm from the Bay Area, the San
Oh,
Francisco Bay
okay.
Area. Yeah. So I'm originally from California. I lived in Texas 3 years, for about 3 years, about 5 years ago, and
Okay.
then so I went from California to Texas to Virginia to North Carolina, back to California for a bit, and now I live in North Carolina again.
Okay.
So yeah, so I moved quite a bit. So when you posted about moving, I
Yeah.
was just like, yeah, I moved. I moved.
I moved. Okay, so I'll tell you
Yeah.
this. So I met my husband when I lived in New York, and
Okay.
so we met in New York, and then we end up moving to upstate New York, which is 3 hours, which is the Albany area.
Right.
From there, we moved to Little Rock, Arkansas, which I was like, what's happened here? Which is a whole different
That is a
world.
huge culture shock.
Yes, very
Oh my
different,
gosh.
night and day. And then we went from there to Chattanooga, Tennessee,
Uh-huh.
Nashville. I lived in Nashville for a little bit over 3 years. And
Okay.
then now Houston.
Okay.
Yeah, so 5 times I moved. And it was crazy because some of the moves are like crazy. Like Little Rock, I only lived there for 8 months. Chattanooga was like a blur. I lived there maybe 4 or 5 months. So it's just
What
like
were those just 2 pit stops for you to get up to Nashville? I
so
really
what
want to
happened?
Nashville, but you got to stop in these 2 places first.
Well, it wasn't planned. None of these moves were planned. It was because of my husband's
Really?
career. Yes, my husband's
Oh, what
career.
do you?
He works in television.
Oh,
So,
nice.
yeah, so he's a video editor, photographer. And so when he started really going into different roles that he wanted to grow into, it was like
Mhm.
where you get a chance. You have to be willing to go.
Okay.
And so we're like, okay, so I know nothing about Little Rock, Arkansas, and the places that we moved to, except Nashville, because my husband's from Tennessee. I had never been to, and we like even Texas. We just moved here. I'd never been to Texas before.
That's how, like, that blind move is what I did to Charlotte and Virginia. I
Did
had never,
you?
yeah, I was just like,
Yeah.
I called the plate people and they were just like, if you send the cashier's check, we can go ahead and get the contract drawn up. And the first
Yep.
time I saw my apartment was when I was signing the lease. And it
Me
was just like,
too.
I hope this
I'm
is
hoping this is
right.
good. I'm hoping I'm doing a great choice, but I don't
Oh man.
know.
Oh, that is,
But
but
yeah.
moving can be stressful, but I do like the change of scenery. I do
Mm.
just like that. But because when I and I don't and I've gotten better, but when I go back to where I was, and not just mentally but like physically go back there, it feels like putting on jeans that used to fit.
Mm.
It's
Okay.
just like, I remember these. I don't quite and
Yeah.
you get to see the people who are there, and traveling isn't for everybody, but I think
Hmm.
I just don't have a lot of patience for people who tend to look down on other cultures or
Mm.
other people's experiences, just because it's different from their own.
Hmm.
So when because I talk differently than a lot of other people do in the places that I've been. And so, based on the way it's, oh, why do you pronounce words this way? Or why do you say these things?
Mm.
And it's like, okay, well, you haven't left your backyard. So,
Exactly. It doesn't matter what you say.
uh,
Yeah.
when you experience other cultures and you get to do other things, then we can have that kind of conversation. But I feel
Yeah.
like, we tend to, as people, well, at least I try to give people that grace, that space,
Mm.
because I know that there was a time, and I think Malcolm X said that, if I'm not mistaken, where it is loosely remembered. I'm greatly paraphrasing. It's something like, be patient with people who don't know what you know, because there was a time when you know
Mhm.
that. And when I was younger, I read that, and that really, especially as a debater, I was super cocky and just like, man, I know these
Mm.
things. But I know a lot of like random trivia stuff, like stuff that doesn't make a difference in like a lot of people's lives. So, uh, knowing a bunch of things doesn't really help me if I'm not willing to teach other people. And
Mm.
so, when I hear people who don't know how to do certain things, like, how, well, I don't know what you all have in your community, but like in the Black community, there's this, if you don't play spades, like
Oh
they'll,
yeah.
if you don't play
Yeah.
dominoes, you'll get dogged. If you don't eat,
Mm.
like, now things are starting to change, because if you didn't eat chitlins, but now people are just like, well, no, chitlins is not chitlins. It's okay if you don't eat chitlins. Or
Yes.
if you don't like another one is like macaroni and cheese. If you don't eat macaroni and cheese, you'll get dogged. Or
Right.
there are certain things that are part of like the Black experience, and they've
Mm-hmm.
kind of like turned it into a checklist where it's like, no, being Black is not a checklist; it's an experience. And so,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like it's so cool, especially now that I've seen like the acceptance, and I'm starting to see it more and more. I learned about it in college years back, where how different parts of South America was learning how connected they are to Africa, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
yes. And then
Yes.
maybe about 4 years ago, there were people who were like, well, I'm Afro Latina, I'm Afro Latino,
Yes.
and I'm just like, oh, they're coming. Oh my God. And at first, there was a little bit of just like, you can't be both. Like, are you mixed? Or is
Yeah.
one parent Black? Is one parent, Latin American, whatever case may be? And there's like, no, no, no. Like, that's my heritage. That's where I come from. And it's like, the amount of acceptance.
Yeah.
I love the identity. I love that there's people who are, talking to their elders,
Mm-hmm.
talking to their family members, and really learning their history and learning who they are. And then not only learning it, but presenting it to the world.
Mm-hmm. It's
Because,
important,
yeah,
absolutely. And I think that the whole Afro Latinidad is really a language that a lot of people are just learning now, like to
absolutely.
say it. Because, like, growing up, my dad was very honest about our heritage and taught me so many things in regards to just culture and how African culture was infused in Puerto. My dad is from Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so if you go to Puerto Rico, yeah, there's Black people that speak Spanish, know? And it's just, he was very honest about that and just shared the history. And because what people don't understand, the Caribbean, slavery started there first.
Yes. Yeah.
So if people don't, it didn't really start in the US first. And then you got to see that the indigenous people of the island too were wiped out. Just like the Native Americans here, it's just there's so much history, and then what happens is sometimes when people come from other countries, they don't really understand the American history and the pain that goes along with it.
Right. Yeah.
But
There's a
it's worldwide. This pain that goes on in this country is really worldwide.
Yeah, and we tend to have this view of the Black experience being so unique to America, when I'm just like, okay, but if you look at the entirety of the slave trade, all parts of
Mm-hmm.
the world were touched by this.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
even if you look at Australia, those
Mm-hmm.
the what do they call the Aborigines?
Aborigine, yes.
They were almost wiped out because they were
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, well, we'll breed you with a European descendant, and
Mm-hmm.
then breed the Aborigine right out of the family. Because
Yeah.
you can only be with another white person. Oh, you're still dark. Let's breed you with another one. Let's breed you with another one until you have 4 or 5 generations. And it's like, well, now you look white.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can be a part of society. And it's like, I think that people can't be so tunnel visioned on what has
Mm-hmm.
occurred here, and
Yeah.
look at the pain that has occurred here, and just say, well, this is the only pain that I can focus on, because no one else understands. And it's like, whiteness, this thing of whiteness has touched almost every
Everything.
continent, right?
Everything.
And it's
Yes.
infused in all of our cultures. I didn't know until maybe 5 years ago that even in Asian communities, that it was the same colorism. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, wait.
Yeah.
Most of y'all are fair anyway.
Yeah.
So what do you mean? Well, we have to be, lighter, like pale. And I was just, what?
It's
And
crazy.
a Vietnamese, my manager was Vietnamese, and he was explaining like to me in his culture how, because he's a bit more tanned,
Mm.
and in his culture it was, he was looked down on because he was darker, so he had to
Mm.
try a lot harder, so he got his master's degrees, and just to be able to be seen as equal to a fairer person who maybe just got their high school diploma or something like that.
Which is
And I
crazy.
was, what? What
It's
is,
mind blowing, right? When you really think about how it's affected the world. Like I've always tell this story, like growing up, I've always embraced my natural hair. My hair has always been curly. My hair naturally is curly.
mhm.
But growing up, I used to get a hard time for having curly hair. So there's a saying that Dominicans are really good at straightening your hair, and that's really trying to whiten what you look
Oh,
like to take out anything that may look, black. And
wow.
so I remember my mom every night would braid my hair, but it got to a point that she went and took me to a salon to do a straightener.
Wow.
And I told her I don't want to do that. She did it twice. I was a kid. I was probably like 7 or 8. And I said, I don't want to do that anymore. She's like, well, you're going to have to take care of your hair. And I said, I will do that. And so I've always, for years, and even in the workspace, before now, like now it's very accepted. Oh, but I used to have people come up to me like, oh, you look so much prettier if you just straighten your hair. Or, I mean, just inappropriate comments. And it's really is, because I
My
always look at
ex
hair
told me that.
messy.
Oh, my ex told me that one time. And the I don't even know what I know how I respond now, but
Yeah.
even then I was just like, why would you even say that? And
Yeah.
he was just like, well, I mean, your hair is fine now, but like you look really hot, like if your hair was straight. And I was just like, why are you even with like what are we even doing here?
What are you doing here?
Why?
Why are you here?
Why are you here? That is wild to me that, we've gotten so used to looking at and I talked about this previously with another individual. We look at the media to tell us what's beautiful, to tell us
Yes.
what's accepted, when there's only a small percentage of people in the media as opposed to the people who are actually living day-to-day lives. So we don't get to
Hmm.
see regular people unless we live in the house with other people. And it's like
Yeah.
to be able to look at yourself and push past what, and people can say the patriarchy and call it whatever it is, but to be able to look at the media and say, and them tell you what's beautiful and ignore it is a good thing. To be able to look at yourself,
Hmm.
know that you're beautiful regardless of whatever standards everybody else has. That's awesome. Like being able to
Hmm.
break through that is just a very powerful thing. And I'm hoping that a lot of young girls will understand how crazy, like I want them to read pop culture history books,
Hmm.
because just thinking about this, we are naturally curvy,
Hmm.
naturally textured hair, naturally like melanated skin, right? And we have natural features, full lips, broad noses, and people told us we were ugly.
Mm.
So we did the surgeries, we did the bleaching creams,
Mm.
we did the straighteners, we did the colors, we did, whatever it takes to look like what the media said we should look like, what they said is beautiful, right? And then here comes J Lo. Well, having a big butt is ugly unless J Lo has it. And then all of a
Hmm.
sudden, oh, now it's cute because it's on J Lo. You have to have a butt like that.
Yeah.
Or having that hourglass shape is ugly. Nobody wants that. They don't want that. That's not what men want. And then you have the Kardashians coming out looking like the ants from Bugs Life, and I'm just like,
They do. They
what are
really
you
do.
like? They look
They
terrible.
look so crazy. But you're so interesting. Like when Jada was on the scene, for me, right? Growing up in New York, like that's my aunt. My aunts look like that.
Yeah,
My family member, my mom, like the neighbor, like I grew up around curvy women. Like that's what I've known. So to look at a magazine that does not represent any of that, nothing, not a
it,
curve.
listen, but now. this is where things get stupid.
Yeah.
We have K Michelle, Nicki Minaj.
Hmm.
What's the other girl's name? Cardi B,
Oh yeah.
who are already Afro Latina or black, already have shape, already beautiful, already have what people are trying to get.
Mm,
And I know K Michelle did a special, and there were some other people in there with her who were talking about how sick they got from doing butt injections, from doing, lip injections, or, whatever they did to get their teeth done, get their breasts done, get their butts done, get their waist snatched, removing a rib. And I was just like, they did all this to look like us, y'all.
yeah.
We don't have to do, like, I just hope and pray, like, if I ever have kids, like, I would want my girls to see how crazy this all is, and how everything is now coming full circle, where it's like we're looking like the cartoonish version of ourselves.
You know, so crazy. I was having this conversation with somebody like the 90s. I love the 90s just not because of music, but how the women looked. Because it was variation. Like Aaliyah was beautiful,
Oh yes.
gorgeous. Like you have so much natural beauty. Halle Berry, I mean, she's still beautiful. But the fact that you had different types of beauty and everything was accepted, and now it's like this one look
Yes.
is what I'm getting. It's just like this one look, this copy carbon look.
Yes.
And everybody's beautiful. Like I just love that variation of, so you didn't have a big butt. You still pretty. Like you cute,
Yeah.
like you still
Even
gorgeous.
Even Debrat had her
Yes.
own style. It was very different. Queen
I
Latifah,
love Queen
even
Latifah.
even when you look at Girlfriends or Living Single, they
Yeah.
all very different, right? Different shapes, different
Mm-hmm.
sizes, tall, short, heavy set, super thin, whatever it was. They were all still very celebrated. Their bodies were,
Mm-hmm.
even when Sinclair was still gaining weight, that's like a natural occurrence. But she was
Yes.
actually going through stuff. She
Mm-hmm.
openly said, like, look, yeah, I was going through a lot. And I'm glad that she got the help that she did, but she was just like, she didn't want to be, because I think she said it started because she just didn't want to be seen as much. And so she just started putting on
Mm.
weight in hopes of like turning off men. And so I was like, girl, that don't work. I don't care how heavy you are. Men
Don't.
men are still gonna look. That's
They gonna look. They gonna look.
they still gonna look. It does not matter.
They do. Like Martin, you have
Yes,
Pam, Gina,
yes,
beautiful women.
absolutely.
It's just like the variation of looks. Like we all didn't have to look the same or do the same things.
Yes, we
I
didn't have
really
to be the
miss
same
that.
skin tone. We didn't have to have the same haircut. We didn't like, whether or not we had our haircut short or had it long. If we got some help with our hair, if
Yeah.
we if we decide to do it ourselves, whether we put it up or put it down, like, and we didn't have to, like, if I see another person try to blow me away with their eyelashes, I can't. I can't. Y'all getting out of control with these eyelashes. Like, y'all are really, man.
They're getting big. They are
Oh,
getting bigger.
just like, who did this? Why is this a thing? I don't understand, but I
I
just,
don't know. I don't wear makeup at all. So I remember one time I had went to Mac. This was like years ago, and I tried to put on like the lady put on. I'm like, I can't. It's too heavy, and it was just like a little strip, like a small strip. I was like, I can't do this.
it's
This
so,
is just too
like, I was
much.
like, I feel sleepy. Like,
It's
I
too
was in
heavy.
elementary school, and they put the eyelashes on, and I felt like I was wearing a hat because I couldn't look up unless I did this. And then, like, I felt like my eyelids couldn't open. Like, oh my, this is so not for me. I don't know how y'all do this or what's
Listen,
the.
I can't do it for me. It's not my thing. I know I saw this video. If I find it, I'll forward it to you. And it was this guy that was like hitting on a girl on a drive-through in a fast food place, and her lash, like because they were big, fell off, and he thought it was a spider. I died because I died. I was like, oh my God. First of all, I'm horrified that it fell off. And then the person thought it was a spider. I was like, oh my God. I can't. I can't.
Oh, I can't.
Uh,
I don't get it. I don't get it. what are y'all going for? What is the point of having so much on your face?
The
I'm just
lashes are
afraid.
crazy.
I'm afraid that something's gonna happen to my cornea. Like I don't even play with contacts as much. Like I used to wear my contacts a lot, but
Mm.
I don't even wear like it's just a lot. It's so much.
That
I
is
don't
so
understand.
funny.
I don't understand.
It's a lot. It's like I said, it's not my cup of tea, to each his own, but the I've seen them, they're getting bigger and bigger, and I'm like, they're getting kind of big. They're getting kind of crazy.
Oh, I'm like, girl, ooh, I hope you are able to rest. Like, how long do
I don't know. But that was so funny. I gotta see if I find that video. If I do, I'll send it to you. Cause this is like months ago. I died laughing. I was like, I gotta log off the internet. Cause it's just, when you just watch too many memes, like I
Yeah,
love memes. Like I'm
yeah.
loving this whole Bernie meme. It's like cracking me up.
Oh, Bernie said, and he made shirts. He's selling sweatshirts.
Yes!
Oh, I
They
was like,
sold out.
this is how you do business. This
Yes.
right here, this is how you do business. Like
Yes.
I was oh man, Bernie.
They're
I
so
was
good. And I was gonna get
like,
a sweatshirt, but they sold out.
oh, they
Because
did.
they did. They're going to like a food bank in Vermont. So all the proceeds are going to a food bank in Vermont. So
Oh,
that's
nice.
genius. But they're
Yes.
hilarious. I mean, they're everywhere. I made one for my podcast and I just laughed because he had one. Did you see the one with Janet Jackson?
No.
You know that she has the what's that album cover where she has the boobs and they're grabbing it?
Are you talking about the Velvet Rope tour? No, that's not the
No,
Velvet
no,
Rope.
no. That's what she has that song again. I love that record. Yes, it's
I
like that.
think it was after Velvet Rope.
She's like half naked and she has like somebody holding her boobs. So
Yeah.
what they did, they put mittens. Put mittens on. They got him everywhere in those random places. They have him on. They did one, oh my God, on Insecure, like some of the scenes on the show
Oh my
Insecure.
gosh. Why?
I was
Oh,
like, I
the
died. I was
internet
like,
stay ready. The internet stays ready.
yes.
Oh
Out of
my god.
anything that happened in that inauguration, that has been like the best
Oh,
thing this happens.
ah, man. But this has been great. I've loved this conversation. I
Yes, me too.
I'm hoping that we can have more conversations like this. Like, oh man, this has been great. Where can people find you?
They can find me at Coffee with Curls on IG, Facebook, Twitter. I'm trying to get better. I got to tweet more. And my podcast, Coffee with Curls, is available on everywhere you listen to the podcast is there. And come check me out. Take a listen.
Awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been another episode of Take a Space Podcast. I'm your host, Leah. Thank you to Noemi. I
Thank
have
you.
appreciated this conversation. This
Thank
felt
you for
so
having me on. I appreciate you.
We will see you on Thursday. We go live at 8 p.m. Central Time on YouTube and Facebook. Hopefully, we'll be able to have Noemi back for our live show. And I will definitely be sure to keep you posted on that. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Take Up Space Pod. That's Take Up Space POD. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.